either to introduce themselves or just say what's foremost in their mind or what they're hoping.
I got a client calling in who wants to close a deal. Is that okay? Or do you want me to not take it?
Sure, I think that's a great idea.
Well, here's how you could do the talking stick. When you're done speaking, type into the message bar down below that says, pass the stick, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in effect, we could kind of symbolically say, okay, we're done. And now pass. And I don't know how which way, you know, some people go to the right, some people go to the left. We could argue about which way to pass the stick.
All right.
You're right. We could do that.
Well, we also have our Google Doc. Oh.
That's right. I think the best solution is just let Edwin.
Oh no, I got too many things going on here. It's I got all these video windows. Let me just show you what's on the screen here. It's where my I've got this whole program that kind of does video capture. So I've got all that stuff going on. So I got a lot of. I'm trying to kind of test this out. So if any one of you wants to moderate, that would be.
Well, here's my constraint. I got at 10:30. I'm going to get on my iPhone. Hopefully, stay in the conversation at this point. I got to drive somewhere. So.
All right. Well, I see that Fred has come up with taking the stick, so I'll moderate. Fred, please take a turn and tell us about what's in your heart this morning.
Well, I just have a little bit of news from International Cities of Peace. We had Guadalajara. Some individuals in Guadalajara start a City of Peace there, and they're developing a website for subtle activism, both in Spanish and English, and it's fantastic. I've seen the initial ramp up for that, and they're in beta right now, so that'll be coming up. And then in Dominican or the Democratic Republic of the Congo, we have a group down there of conflict resolution professionals who started a City of Peace down there. And so things are going quite well over the last few weeks. And the group in Cameroon has 10 students that are going to be working in the community, and they're trying for government acknowledgement of their City of Peace efforts. So those are three things. That's all I wanted to just throw in right away, and I will pass the
Fred, before you sign off, I haven't had the pleasure of meeting you before. What community are you working with or participating in? Well, community or organization?
Yeah, there's a group called International Cities of Peace, which I'm sort of the director and chief bottle washer at this point. But there's a number of cities around the world that have started intentional cities of peace, and so it's kind of ramped up a little bit. We've been going since about 2009, but over the last few months, it's kind of kicking in. So if you want to check out,
that's really exciting. That's really exciting. Thank you so much. Who would like to introduce themselves next with the stick? I see Peace Day TV. Forgive that telephone. I'm in someone else's office. Peace Day TV, you have to sign off. So, you have the time limit, so would you like to take a turn and introduce yourself, please?
Sure. This is Stephen Fantle from Peace Day TV and a few other peace-related organizations. The thing I'm most excited about, we're going to be demoing our cloud computing system today. That's a collaborative tool for peace networks. Actually, Cities of Peace is one of the organizations as part of the Summer of Peace 2012, so Culture of Peace and Shift Network and quite a few others. And so we'll be demoing that today. In fact, Fred, one of the demos, I'm not sure if they got it done, was to show how the map, which is how we navigate, navigation tool.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that, Stephen. That's great. Fantastic.
So yeah, I'm hoping that they got actually some of the Cities of Peace on the map to show that is one view, and another is events, and others would be organizations. And so at the end of the day, I think this could be really what not only the peace community, but individuals who are trying to enter the digital economy have been waiting for.
Yeah.
Great.
Wow, that's really exciting. Thank you so much. Tell me your name again, Peace Day TV.
Stephen, I'll type it in.
Great. Great. All right. Well, I think I have I'm volunteering to facilitate. Allison, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little about the projects you're working on?
Sure. And also, before I do that, I'd like to ask for people's geographic location. Fred and Stephen?
Well, I'm in a little tiny village called Yellow Springs, Ohio.
It cut out. What was that again?
I'm from Yellow Springs, Ohio, near Dayton.
Okay, great.
And I'm in Eugene, Oregon with David Hazen.
Okay, great. Thanks. Okay. Well, I'm Allison, and like Edwin said, I work with the Compassionate Listening Project, and that's based here in the Puget Sound area in Seattle. And I also, I've been with the Compassionate Listening Project as a follower, more or less, for a couple of years. And the way I connected is that I started another thing here in the Puget Sound called the Free Listening Project of Puget Sound. And we're just a small group when we go out to public places and sit for 3 hours at a time with a simple sign that says free listening. And then we just offer to sit quietly and listen to anyone who wants to talk about anything with no judgment or advice or interruption. And we just try to empty our minds and just create this space. So that's my main passion. And then last spring, I was asked to be on the board of Compassionate Listening Project, and now I'm just started working there as an employee. I'm the administrative director for Compassionate Listening Project, and I'm here today because I want to connect with this community, and especially John, because you're a Northwesterner, a Seattleite. I especially wanted to connect with you because I'm hoping that our paths will cross quite a bit over the next few years.
Yeah, Allison, absolutely. Well, you know, Leah Green is a member of CAN, and so is Susan Park now, and Andrew Cohn. And
definitely, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that you're the one person that you'd think I'd know the closest, and you're here in Seattle.
Yeah, I'm actually in Federal Way.
Yeah, fabulous. Got it.
Yeah.
All right. I'm concerned that we just lost somebody. Edwin, I want to take as your volunteer moderator, I want to take a technical adjustment break for 30 seconds.
Fred just dropped out. He said he was going to drop out and come back. So we're okay.
Okay. All right. So John Raymer, will you tell us a little about yourself and your projects?
Well, the first thing I want to say is bravo to everybody else. To you, Fred. Well, Fred's gone, unfortunately, for that. But Stephen, what you've been doing, it's inspiring as usual to get together here. I do, you know, the compassionate, Fred, Dennis, you and I haven't met. I'm curious to know who you are as well. But the story here coming out of Seattle has been our work with compassionate action. And of course, it's a alignment with empathy and peace and these other initiatives. I'm very interested. I was half joking before, but with what's happening in these occupations, this idea, it's really glorious for me, and it's really a source of inspiration. And I wasn't joking when I said that I registered the domain Occupy Our Hearts, and with the thought that maybe this group, because if you just took the connections in this group and started to, again, show another level of cooperation and support for each other, I think that, you know, that's not going to go away, what's happening in Wall Street. It's going to lead somewhere. And it would be good for us to continue to be that voice of nonviolence, that voice of compassion, that voice of cooperation. So I'd love to just put that on the table as a possibility for Edwin, if just, you know, you and I and everyone on this call stopped and just identified all the groups we can connect to, we could probably have a remarkable community of supporters for whatever's coming. I saw this sign. It says, "The beginning is near." That was really what it said.
That's great. Thank you so much, John. And David Hazen, where are you, and what kind of projects are you working on?
I'm in Eugene, Oregon. and I'm involved with the Occupy Eugene movement. I've met with the PR committee, and I'm probably going to go to the General Assembly. And tonight there's a Know Your Rights and Nonviolence training. And then the occupation begins on Saturday, and I'm going to be there.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm just totally pumped about it. I wrote a letter to my church, to the board and staff, asking them to sign on. And we'll see what happens. John Dominic Crossan was here over the Sunday and Monday and talked to us about the need for distributive justice, and I got totally fired up.
Yeah, yeah, very good.
And so that's going on, and we recently submitted the Charter for Compassion to the local Human Rights Commission, requesting them to send it to the City Council for approval and implement a 10-year plan.
Fabulous.
So we'll see where that goes. They don't meet again for maybe another week. And then the other thing, I got two feathers in my cap all at once. It was just incredible. Last Saturday, the Nobel Peace Laureate Project awarded me Peacemaker of the Year.
Wow.
And this is a project to build a monument in the local park celebrating the 24 American recipients of the Nobel Peace Prize. And so this was their fundraiser dinner, and they recognized 3 people, most of them educators, and I was the peacemaker. And I got to meet Klaus Nobel, who's the great-grandnephew of Alfred Nobel. And he came up to me afterwards and gave me his card and said, "We need to stay in touch." And I was so blind. I didn't even remember half of what he said. And
that's great.
Next Wednesday,
David, thank you very much, David. I want to stay with the introductions and finish up the introductions because we may need to have an agenda for this meeting. So forgive me for interrupting you, and thank you for sharing that. That's really exciting. My name is Dennis Rivers. I'm the director of the Institute for Cooperative Communication Skills, which is a kind of virtual curriculum development organization. Our big project is newconversations.net, which features the 7 Challenges workbook. And the 7 Challenges workbook is being used in 100 different countries. It's my effort to take material from Marshall Rosenberg and Gene Hoffman and Compassionate Listening and roll it into an open source curriculum that can be implemented by any teacher who wants to launch a class anywhere in the world on the topic. Can have really great curriculum support materials. So that's my largest website. I also edit. I manage about 40 public service websites, and I edit about 20 of them. The other one that I'd like to share with this group is Support Geneva Conventions, which is a little coalition that I organized 4 or 5 years ago to reaffirm and extend the Geneva Conventions. That's really important to me because I feel the Geneva Conventions provides a kind of conceptual umbrella for working on 4 or 5 really painful issues, and it would be hard to tackle each one. Depleted uranium munitions, treatment of detainees, protection of civilians in war zones. Those are all important issues, and the Geneva Conventions process and movement that's unfolded over the past 150 years has kind of built an umbrella that arches over all those issues. So that seems to me worth promoting because people don't have to start from scratch. They can kind of join a noble parade of great thinkers and advocates. So, all right, now we've had our Edwin, we didn't have you. I apologize.
You know, when I was in high school, when they always used to pick the teams, for who was going to be on the team, I was always picked last. So So here I am last again.
The best for last, Edwin.
So Edwin Rudge from the Center for Building a Culture of Empathy. And so I got two big projects going, and one is Empathy Curriculum. It's kind of an open source online empathy curriculum that I'm working to get some teams together to work on that. And I just starting another project, which is a conference on how to build a culture of empathy and compassion. And the idea is to hold a series. It's kind of a rolling conference of panel discussions. And it's basically doing what we're doing right now, to have online panels using Skype and to record them and to put that online. So I'm actually kind of working out all the technology and all the details of how to do that, and am recording this call right now, and we'll put it online. So that's kind of the main that's the main project at the moment.
Well, Edwin, I think with if we supported you by identifying leaders in our relationships to leaders and start to make those discussions more and more meaningful and powerful, that would be good for you and good for all of us. And I love that you're thinking that way, Edwin. I get where you're going, and I love that. So this group is capable. Just listen to who's on this call and the people we know. If we just map that out, we can really bring together. I think everyone senses there's an urgency about coming together now and trying to address these challenges in new creative ways. I'm humbled by everybody's presence here. Bravo. Dennis, where are you located?
Right now I'm house sitting in San Francisco. I live in Marin, but I had to move from one place to another, and so I was temporarily without a roof over my head. And a wonderful peace activist couple in San Francisco, David and Jen Hartsoe, who just were in the occupation in D.C. For 10 days. They were going to be away, so they lent me their house, which was complete with a wonderful office room. David's organization is Peace Workers US, and it has the blue wire. So it's interesting how what we look for. It's like people in airports wander around and they have an electrical plug in their hand, like looking for the outlet. So when I walk into a house now, the first thing I look for is where's the blue wire. Anyway, this is I'm really lucky to be able to camp in this place.
Got it. Well, thing is, I'm going to switch to my iPhone soon, but I was sincere before. If we want to put in, whoever wants to continue to moderate and put an agenda together, however you want to do that, but the opportunity to maybe jointly support all these occupations and tap into that in a compassionate, empathic, happy-based, peace-based way is could be an interesting expression coming from this group that could support a number of our efforts. So maybe there's other things we want to talk about too, but I definitely, if this group's up for it, I'd love to see us do something jointly like that.
So we also have the Google Doc that we can be writing these ideas into it. I would encourage everyone to actually kind of jot these ideas down while we're talking. Does everybody have the URL for that?
Can you just throw it up again, Edwin? Would you mind?
So, for example, your idea, John, we could have been writing that down.
I'll put it up there before I move to my iPhone, so at least it's on the table.
My most recent work, I've been working for about the past 4 months writing and refining an article called Companions in Blessing. And I'll be happy if you'll send me your email addresses. I'll be happy to email it to you. Or it's also available on the ecobodhi.org website, ECOBODHI.org. website, Companions in Blessing. I'm very interested in the transition from episode to relationship. I'm very interested in the issue of how do we take wonderful relationships that happen in workshops, or in this case demonstrations, that are kind of limited in time, and build them into ongoing mutual support relationships. So my Companions in Blessing articles, I'm talking about 12 different ways that we link our lives together. For example, by being companions in conscience, or companions in creativity, or companions in conflict resolution. I'm really interested in kind of extending the ways that people see each other as potential allies over some number of months or years, rather as distinct from some number of days or hours.
So you're interested in the relationships, extending ways that people see each other as potential allies, kind of for the long term?
I'm very interested in long-term friendships as long-term mutual support relationships. Or the word colleague is a little cold, and the word friendship is maybe warmer than because I have deep colleague relationships with some people, and I'm not necessarily a close friend of that person, but we're deeply committed to an issue that we're working on, like nuclear disarmament. And so I feel like even though we're not close personal friends, there's still a kind of there's an ongoing link there that's quite significant. Since nuclear disarmament is deeply important to me, they wind up being deeply important to me, or the work of their life is deeply important.
And John, are you writing your comment down there?
I'm trying. No, I'm not having success editing.
Sometimes it helps to hit the refresh, reload the page. I've noticed the first time around it kind of locks up.
Yeah, I saw relationships. I saw what you were typing there, and Dennis was speaking. I don't know, Dennis, if you see that, but if everyone's seen that, Edwin's doing a great job here as usual.
Oh, so do you guys have a Google Doc session?
Yeah, I just had put it underneath, in the chat window. There's a link to it.
Okay, I'll open it up. Wow, we are really surfing the edge of possibilities here.
We don't have any time to waste, Dennis.
So I'm very interested. I'm interested in how much or how little that idea speaks to you or intrigues you about translating episodes into relationships. How much does that fit the work that each of you is doing?
Could we go around maybe once and just get everybody's ideas for topics?
Sure. Yes.
Topic.
I have a topic which would be to just spend a little time on kind of doing a test question around how to build a culture of empathy and compassion, and to use it as a bit of a test bed that I'm needing to kind of test out the kind of this whole process of recording calls, and so that would be something I would suggest.
And I apologize for sort of getting the bit in my teeth and running away with it. But so thank you. I'm watching the Google Docs, and it looks like it's just working great.
Edwin, I got to switch to my iPhone, but I just put up there the thought that we could make a joint commercial that you can orchestrate by these calls. Kind of put it as a YouTube video, a call for occupying our hearts as a joint expression, and use what you're up to as a way to spread the word. And I'm going to hang up for now, and call me, Edwin, if you would, on my I'm going to turn Skype on my phone. If you call me back, it should ring there.
Stephen, did you want us to participate in your test today, or is there something that we can watch as you turn it on and try it out?
If you'd like to, you're welcome to join us. This is specifically for the Summer of Peace group in the Shift Network, and I don't know if they're expecting other people, but I'm happy to share with you where you'd come in. And
I wasn't sure if you're doing a public beta, then we'd be, I'd be interested in seeing it.
It's not a public beta, but this is something I was going to share with this group.
That's so good.
As soon as we got done with.
All right, so we'll look forward to an update. Now that we've got this Google Doc, we can check back in and see. This is a really great way of checking back in and keeping up with how each person's developing their particular participation.
Right. And actually, this system will work so good for what you were discussing about education, because at its core, it's a digital rights exchange, and who has what use rights to what content, and so free education is a big part of the platform. But at any rate, we'll schedule something for this group for the people who are interested, and hopefully we won't have too many bugs in today's first demo.
I am totally inspired by this.
When you're talking about these little businesses. Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go, Allison.
Well, I was going to say I'm just kind of new here and just kind of figuring out the lay of the land, so no, I don't have anything. I didn't know there was an assignment.
Yeah, I don't have a topic to suggest. I'm just enjoying trying to follow the conversation.
Yeah.
Perhaps the problem with me will be that I have too much to suggest, because I've written this 7-challenge workbook that is in the Creative Commons. So of course I want to suggest all 7 of my challenges as raw material for the evolution of an empathy guide.
You have reached the maximum time permitted for recording your message. If you're satisfied with the message, press 1. To listen to your message, press 2. To erase and re-record, press 3. To continue recording where you left off, press 4. Thank you. Your message has been sent.
So this whole thing was recorded on John's voicemail?
We haven't been able to bring John back.
Well, he'll hear the recording. Here he comes. He's in chat. So he is here somewhere. All he had to say was, "Oh."
So, Edwin, I think that brings up a really interesting kind of methodological issue. On the one hand, you're opening up yourself to suggestions for how to build a culture of peace. But on the other hand, if I come along with a giant truck full of documents and just dump them in your front yard, that's not exactly it's interesting that the whole idea that what people have to contribute is spread across a spectrum, both the quantity. For example, it seems to me that you could simply incorporate the entire body of work of the Compassionate Listening Project. If the Compassionate Listening Project consents to be incorporated or mirrored, and that's perhaps Allison, you could discuss that with your colleagues. Are we ready to have people just ingest our work lock, stock, and barrel and make it part of their own? And what the Creative Commons has good procedures for helping that happen. Yeah. I'm raising this issue of how do you incorporate existing bodies of work so that easily and gracefully, and you know, because there are already existing bodies of work or people who are working on one slice of the pie or another, and so we're not really starting from scratch on this topic.
Well, that's exactly what this digital rights exchange is designed to do. Each individual user can put content, or groups can put content up there. It's copyrighted to them. They can choose what kind of license, whether it's a Creative Commons license or a fair use right or derivative use right. And this way I can come along, for example, and build the curriculum I would like to share with my particular audience from the various things that, for example, people in this group may have put up there that I have a use right to. I'm allowed to put it into my library so that wherever I put my little widget that showcases the content, then my audience would be able to see it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe one thing that we could do down the line here is actually build a corner of the cloud that's specifically for this cloud coffee house, and then build out from there. You know, there's various sub areas. We call them corners. So here's compassion, here's education. Of course, many things overlap, but this has been the big issue: is who, number one, where do you get what content? How do you track who has a right to use it and under what circumstances? But it's all in one place so that it can be managed easily for collaboration, versus just out there in some search engine and you don't know what's on page 80 versus, you know, page 2. And how do you get the rights from them unless they specifically offered a Creative Commons use license? You know.
Yes, well, I've tried to pole vault over those barriers by adopting the broadest possible Creative Commons license so that people can actually take my book and they could publish it if they wanted to in their country, or they could translate it into Swahili or Urdu. Or there are some people translating it into Urdu, and they have my total and unqualified blessing. So I think that as more writers see the advantage of that, then there'll be a larger kind of shared library. So maybe, now this is back to you, Edwin, maybe having something like a cooperative library on your website or on your wiki would be a place where people could arrive with contributions to the cooperative library. And they would say, here's the things that we would offer in support of your evolving ideas about a culture of empathy.
Yeah, with the curriculum, it's a very step-by-step process. So I see it that we're kind of needing to rewrite a lot of what's out there already to give it a new shape and a new form, like compassionate listening. They have a very distinct kind of a process worked out. You know, it's kind of like a step-by-step process, and you know, you can always link to other. I mean, it's hard. I'm not really quite sure how to do this. You know, make it a wiki of sorts, because you know some of the parts of, if you look at Wikipedia, it's not real graphic and real. You know, it's a very it has good information, but it's not quite open and kind of creative enough. You know, the tools aren't quite there. So then there's a lot to it, putting this all together, you know, project management and organization. It's a huge project, I'm finding. Something that sounds simpler is doing these panel discussions for a conference, actually.
Okay, I think that's a pretty good idea, is actually to, you know, use the people in this group and do some very specific discussions around topic areas, record them, because most people do want to sit and watch and listen. You know, and then you can attach PDFs and other content on the page where you've got the video embedded. And this way, you know, invite other guest speakers in particular areas of their expertise. People from the Empathy and Compassion Network, for example, on that kind of topic. I'm sure Avon Madison and Michael Johnson would come from Culture of Peace to discuss that. And we do a lot of work with the Shift Network, and so they've got quite a few speakers who would be able to show up. And so, yeah, set up a discussion series. And this is a good technology, actually, for it, or even a GoToMeeting type usage. So you can screen share. Make it a little more dynamic. Well, you're able to share things on your desktop or videos, queue a variety of different kinds of content, graphics, etc.
Well, what I was thinking of is actually a format kind of like what we have right here with 4 panelists, and then myself as convener, and then someone as the facilitator or moderator like Dennis has been doing. And then to actually have this very setup that we have right here, and then kind of maybe like a 1-hour exploration of a topic. And then I'm working on the software, like I was saying right now, to actually capture this. And then kind of the other component was to have a Google Doc like we have here, and that as we're talking that we keep, you know, a running document about what we're talking about, so that we have both an outline of the discussion as well as you know, the video of it.
Well, I find that I'm not, that as I switch back and forth between filling in items on the Cloud Coffee House shared document, I'm not participating in the discussion as mindfully as I would like. So that's interesting to kind of think about. It's clear that I need to sprout several more arms and several more eyes and mouths, kind of like that chapter in the Bhagavad Gita of the divine being who has thousands of eyes and thousands of arms. David, you haven't said anything, and David Hazen, you haven't said anything in the past 5 minutes. How are you feeling right now about the evolution of this?
It is very distracting, and it is hard to track. I agree with you. I do a lot better on one-to-one Skype calls, and on these kinds of calls, it's hard to follow.
Mm-hmm. We didn't have much of a very clear agenda for this, because this was kind of a trial run of the technology. I think the technology works great. It just actually runs faster than my legs can keep up with. But I'm delighted with the technology. I'm just typing and talking at the same time is not something that I'm good at doing. Although I have friends who can do that. They can actually be typing on the keyboard and turn their head in the other direction and have a conversation with someone across the room, and I'm not totally jealous of that. Maybe a trial run of the technology is really the best we can accomplish today, and perhaps begin and think about maybe we can devote the rest of our time to planning our next meeting and deciding what are the topics that we want to cover, so each of us can come a bit more prepared.
So can I ask, since I really didn't know what I was getting into when I got on this, do you have a common goal at all for meeting? Is that what you're talking about now, or is it something else? I'm a little lost in what everyone's talking about.
Well, I think the Cloud Cafe was initially just more of a free form kind of a discussion, so it hasn't really been nailed down. I think it's
okay.
It was more social than task oriented, right?
Okay. So I'm not lost. You guys are just still trying to figure out what you're doing. Is that right? Okay.
I mean, it might be that there's different forms, and just social chatting, is good. And then some people are busy and they feel like, well, I don't have time for this. And then others want kind of a more structured approach,
I also notice that I think because I had my 70th birthday this summer, I'm seeing things and lots of things in terms of long stretches of time. So I realize that now I've written so many things that it's kind of changing my relationship to people, because sometimes when people will bring up a topic and I've actually written an essay or maybe even a book on that topic. And so probably each of us is in this kind of journey of creativity, our own personal journey of creativity, where we're trying to either pick the area that we want to work in and then start doing our work and then start reporting on the work that we've accomplished. And so that changes how we participate in meetings. It changes what we're wanting to offer. And I'm offering this, I'm talking out loud, but also Edwin, I think, and I are having this kind of long-term dialogue about how do we build a network of participation, and I'm really aware of that. And of course, I'd like to get each of you I'd like to get to know each of you better and find out where you are on your own personal journey of creativity and productivity to see, how can I support you in, producing your next product.
Yeah, I have the same problem.
So I'm very interested in that, and it looks like Stephen, this a kind of shared resource center on the web is like a major creative effort of yours. That's going to be when you look back at, well, what did I accomplish in the past decade? This is going to be a really important. I got all these pieces and I put them together in a way that other people could easily find them. That's going to be a major step forward for you.
And really the biggest ultimate objective for me at the end of this is that there's a cloud credit attached to this, so that people can sell their content. Someone could shoot a lion video instead of a lion for its skin and sell it for stock footage to movie studios. A band could have their music sold. They could live stream their concerts. People can pay for them. And because it's a universal cloud credit and people can earn into the system, it now opens up the digital economy to the billion-plus people that have no credit card, that live in the developing world, and really need a way to start providing wealth for themselves without using their local natural resources, right? Their time, knowledge, and creativity becomes the basis of their value, and now they can start importing wealth into their community from the global marketplace.
So this is kind of, so you're in the role of a social entrepreneur that is trying to facilitate everybody on planet Earth having a path toward being an entrepreneur in a way that, or participating in it, making it possible for everybody on planet Earth to participate in the global digital marketplace, because there's clear pathways open.
Yeah, most succinctly, I'd say it is to provide a mechanism that's an information age economic model versus the industrial age model. And I believe ages are defined by their economic systems. So until we have an information age type of economy available to people, we're going to be stuck with the dregs of the industrial age, including its legal and currency systems. You know, it's exhausted itself economically with the debt and environmentally. So we need to move on. And that can't happen until we have a leveler playing field and a universal solvent that everybody can access on a level playing field.
So have you written a position paper on this, or given a talk that's been videoed or something? You'll see under my check-in, I actually put some...
there's quite a bit.
So on your check-in, would you give us a Can you give us a reference where we could see your where we could go and listen to you explain what perhaps that's something that each of us could do on the check-in. Allison, I'd love to see what, how you're carrying forward the compassion.
Sorry, you were cutting in and out. I'm not.
Oh, I was thinking that in the check-in, if you have some references to share with us about your work, like how do people in Puget Sound find out about your work? How do you explain your work to people in your community? On the Cloud Coffee House check-in, you'll see under my name, I've put some documents that you can click on, which is things that I've written that might be relevant to this discussion. So I was thinking that each of us could actually fill in some things so we can find out more about one another's work.
That's definitely one of the reasons I wanted to come into this group. Is I'm new to all of this. I kind of started free listening just for my own personal need to connect with people. So I'm just brand spanking new to this whole nonprofit, social activism type of community. And I just want to network. And when I'm with people and they start going, oh, you should talk to this group and that group, I'm amazed at how many groups there are and how many people know about. And they're saying, oh, talk to this person. And everyone is so networked. I don't even know who these groups are or what they do. And I just want to start, I want to be part of the pool. And so that's why I'm here, was just to find out who you all are and what you're doing and how I can connect.
Bless you all. I've got to run, but I really enjoyed and look forward to chatting with everybody again, and maybe even more often than we have been.
Well, Steve, so please go to the check-in and give us some references where we can see an overview of what you're doing.
Actually, at the bottom of the Google map, Google Doc, you'll see one of our skins for the map application. There's a list of our websites there because there's just too many of them. The one that actually ultimately explains the origins of this concept is freedigitaluniverse.com.
Okay, great.
And the current cloud system, I put it here in the chat, is zedenx.com. And I think you'd like my blog because there I discuss, for example, Barlow's economy of ideas and how that would apply to this. And there's the first blog actually is an interview with the programmers and myself about what this technology can do, why we're releasing it to the peace building community first versus LinkedIn or the sports community, and commercial applications of it will come next. We do have to make it sustainable, of course, but our purpose in this is how do we create a sustainable culture of peace, of compassion, and a cultural commons that benefits everybody, including authors. Right? I mean, authors need to be rewarded for their work in most cases, or they won't continue to author. They'll be out bricklaying or whatever. So, at any rate, yes, I must run, but I will thank you all for the time today.
Thank you. It's nice meeting you.
Bless you all.
Amen.
Bye.
Well, on a little different topic, next week I'm going to be coming up there to Seattle, and I was wondering, I was just wanting to drive up. So, David, I was just wondering about visiting you. Are you going to be around? You have some time for coffee or something on, I think it's the 19th. Let me double.
Wednesday. On Wednesday.
Oh, it's actually, yeah. Yeah, the 19th.
When are you getting to my house?
I was thinking kind of by the, oh, wait a minute. That's, it would be the 20th, right?
Okay. So you're spending the night. So you're spending
yeah,
the night.
And then we would go together to. I mean, there is an option to fly too. It's, I don't know. Joan's been telling me I should fly because it's only like $160, and it's probably going to cost that much for gas. So I'm not sure. But,
I have time to, if you want, on the 19th.
So that's an option. That's. Do you have your address? Could you put it there somewhere? Or email it to me, or the details, or how to get...
I can email you a map. And yeah. Well, I am fading. I need to go have some tea or something. We've been going for an hour.
Yep. So what do you think of the next meetings, or how did you'd had that schedule up there?
Schedule?
Of when people could meet, you were kind of sending all that out?
The meeting wizard. Wizard, yeah. Well, we would just have to start another one. And I think I have everybody's email. Because you sent out Allison's.
Yeah, it's on that page in the Google Doc.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you also sent it in an email. Okay. So I think I'll sign off.
Well, David, I'm wishing you a day full of blessings. It was really good to see you on this meeting, and thank you so much for your contributions. And my heart goes with you every step of the way as you occupy Eugene and fill it up with your light.
I really like John's idea of a website called Occupy Your Heart, because when I first was reading about Occupy Wall Street, there was a quote from a lady at Wall Street that started with Occupy Your Heart first, and I'm looking for the rest of the quote, and I can't find it. But when I find it, I might send it out. Mm-hmm.
Well, certainly, if coming from a centered place is we ought to all have a conversation about mirror neurons because mirror neurons play such a large role in everything that we're trying to accomplish. But because the occupiers, to the degree that the occupiers kind of express some deep hope and appreciation, they'll stimulate hope and appreciation in the people who watch them. You know, it is kind of a significant issue for social protest. If I stand up and I say, you are totally screwed up, when you play that back in your mind, in effect, if you hear that in your mind, it would be it's very easy for you to just repeat it back toward me. I mean, repeat something. So I say, And sometimes you'll even see this with maybe like 6 or 7-year-old. Somebody says, well, you're a jerk. No, you're a jerk. No, you're a jerk. And they don't realize that they're actually imitating one another, that they're caught in a spiral of imitation. So I think that's a really significant issue for protest movements. You know, if protest movement says, you're totally screwed up, then we're inviting the other side to say, well, you're totally screwed up. So how we introduce positive messages like we can do better. If we can do better than this, we can take care of more of our children. Well, when somebody runs that through their mind and they repeat it in their mind, they're in effect empathizing with the statement rather than with a positive, uplifting statement, rather than just getting caught in a spiral of mutually enforcing criticism.
Well, that's a topic I would have liked to explore too, the whole Occupy movement, kind of what's going on there.
Yeah.
It's like kind of the energies that are there, and it's kind of, if it's kind of the beginning of kind of a 60s kind of a movement, a street movement, and kind of where is that going to go, and what are the directions? And it seems to be looking for direction.
Well, there's very few goals, very few demands, and I know that there's a lot of blame and resentment, but there's also a real emphasis on the quality of the process within the group. And if you're looking at it from the outside, you don't see that. It has to be experienced. And, it's all about equality, rejecting the hierarchical way of making decisions and creating a horizontal, equal, everybody. And not many people see that. But it's like a creation of a replacement culture instantaneously, and it's very chaotic right now. But I don't know. I think it'll start to be seen for what it really is.
So it's sort of it's kind of like embodying kind of the essence of what it's wanting to create. And for me, it's kind of like it's about everybody being heard. It seems to be about everybody kind of having a voice, and it's kind of not being framed in that way. There's a lot of, even the 99% is kind of like saying there's that 1% of the bad guys, kind of.
Right. Who was it? Stephanie Van Hook wrote this really article on a good article that was posted on Common Dreams, asking, can we be the 100%? Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a good sign, the 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Include Wall Street.